Okay, let's go over here and look at chapter 20, all right? So chapter 20, external causes of morbidity. Now, someone asked me about the V codes. These are V codes, okay? Now, the V codes, as you know it, are probably going to be transformed is a good way to put it, okay? All right, now, what I'm about to teach you probably is a little different and maybe, I wouldn't say ruffle your feathers, but it's definitely going to say you should take notice, okay? All right, so here we go. You ready? Okay, number one, E codes. All right, E codes. E codes are used to explain how an injury occurs. E codes are not worth anything. It's like if you go to the Antique Roadshow and they show an E code, they'll say, well, they're pretty commonplace, not worth anything. Okay? All right. So primarily, we're going to use those E codes on accident policies. All right? So therefore, when you think of an accident policy, what is the number one insurance for accident policies? Anybody know? Pardon? Okay. Actually, it has a duck as the mascot. Okay. Aflac. Okay. So, Aflac. Now, if you've ever I actually have a patient, and I didn't bring it with me, and I told him I teach this stuff. And Tim goes, really? He goes, do you want some, and so he brought in like this duck that has Aflac on it, all these stuffed things there. All right, I'm not going to be going through TSA, pats me down, and then finds all these stuffed animals in my suitcase. Okay, all right. So, in an accident policy, now, let me give you, everyone kind of listen to this because you may not know it, but in an accident policy, and I'm not talking about car accident, in an accident policy, Aflac being one of them, then number one, the patient has to seek medical care within 72 hours, okay? All right, so this is not in your notes itself, but you might want to know this, okay? All right, so they have to, in general, seek medical care within 72 hours. Definition of seek medical care is call and make an appointment, all right? So as long as they do that, then it should be covered at 100%. Here's an example. Patient of mine is golfing. He golfs, he hits, and he takes a divot and hurts his back. Okay, insurance company pays 100%. Okay, because it's an accident policy Aflac. All right? So now, when that patient calls, and I don't know if you have any Aflac insurance patients that might come in, but just to give you an example of that, when an Aflac patient calls me, then I immediately know I have to document specifically how the accident occurred, and you might want to know this, how the accident occurred, and the time and date, the exact time the accident occurred. Because within 72 hours, they have to seek medical care. All right, now, some insurance companies will send out questionnaires, and the insurance companies will say, is this due to an accident, a work injury, a car accident, whatever it might be? Okay? Now, I will put forth to you that when you get those questionnaires, most of the time it's because you are not supplying enough information from them, and they really don't want, and this doctor can tell you, most insurance companies, it's like for legitimate care, they want to reimburse, okay? But if it's not medically necessary care or within their policy, then they're not going to reimburse. And so they have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure they ask the questions if you don't supply it. So this is what we did in my office, and for whatever it's worth, you can take it to your office. On those policies where they're always getting those questions there, all right, you may want to consider using E-codes. Because E-codes are there, and with the use of E-codes, that's going to, in many instances, take away the questions. Now, I'm not telling you to use E-codes all the time, but ask the carrier, if we supply E-codes, would that help you out to process this quicker? Okay? And there are many, many E-codes. E-codes always go last, and there are examples. There are hundreds of E-codes. Now, these codes right here are worthless, okay? Don't worry about it. But it's like, how many of you use E-codes now? My point, very few, but some, okay? Now, there's a reason why I'm going through this. It's important for ICD-10. But you see the E-codes here: accident, fall on stairs at home, accident, fall on stairs at an industrial place, accident, fall on stairs, place for recreation, whatever it might be, okay? So what this does is it actually will tell the insurance company, this is how the accident happened, so now there will not be any questionnaire or very few. In fact, in my office, what we did was we went back, and I had our insurance area, I said, okay, not only what insurance company is asking these questionnaires of our patients, but what about their employer? And as an example, the certain insurance company that was with the teachers of Decatur, they were asking these. So I said, let's add in E-codes there, and it stopped the questionnaires. Okay? And that's because that's what these codes are used for. Okay? Now, these are E-codes I went through, because who's going to read through hundreds and hundreds of E-codes? Me. All right? Because Mario is nuts. Okay? All right. Okay. So I looked through, and you're welcome to use these codes here as you wish now. These are ICD-9 E-codes. Do not use them for Medicare. You know, check with your policy, but I want you to at least be aware of these codes because change is coming. So E927.0, overexertion from sudden strenuous movement. Patient said, all I did was sneeze and, oh, my back, okay, went out. All right? Or they were shaking off their hair and the water from their hair, and their neck went out. Okay? All right? Overexertion from prolonged static position. You might have an E927.1 right now. Okay? That's why I keep walking back and forth, so I don't have to stand in one spot, okay, for 6 hours, but you probably have it from sitting, right? All right. Excessive physical exertion from prolonged activity, E927.2, cumulative trauma from repetitive motion, E927.3, and cumulative trauma from repetitive impact, and again, that was Fabio and Putin from riding their horses, okay? E927.4, all right? Okay. All right, so in ICD-10, the E-codes are now going to be called external cause codes. All right? And there are many, many, many external cause codes, okay? And I'm sorry this isn't showing up too well. So there's no national requirement for mandatory external cause coding. Now, in your slide there, please write down something to the effect of look for carrier clarification. This is one thing where the indications are that carriers will start to want to know this, because then that way they know that it's a work injury or what happened, how the accident occurred, and they don't like questionnaires. It's just more paperwork for them too. So this, I expect, is going to become more clear in ICD-10. All right? Okay. Now, maybe state-based or payer-based requirement, and it is encouraged to voluntarily report external cause codes. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, I would not voluntarily report external cause codes unless the carrier says it's okay to report it. I know for a fact that Medicare doesn't want you using those, okay? So you might want to talk to the carrier, or I don't know, H&S's role in all this if there is one, but you might want to talk with them as well and see as we go into the ICD-10 what their carriers might be. Okay? Why are you laughing? Okay. All right. Do you know anything about this or not? No? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So these codes can provide valuable data for injury research and evaluation of injury prevention strategy. In other words, if all of a sudden you find a bunch of codes being kicked out, and H&S Connect finds out, and they talk to the carrier says, we've gone to a policy where we want E-codes now. Or E-codes along with this diagnosis, okay? And so now you won't have to be hitting that other in box 10, all right? So that's where I can see changes to occur, okay? All right. So they're used at national, state, and local levels to identify high-risk populations, set priorities, and to plan and evaluate injury prevention programs, okay? So external cause code and place of occurrence code, you want to basically answer the following. And this is how they're going to be used. What was the patient doing when the injury occurred? Where was the patient? Did the accident happen on the job? Okay, all right. So now, these are the rules, and you should be aware of the rules, all right? And I can see this coming about PI cases, work comp cases. They're going to look at that because they look at that data, okay? Excuse me. External cause codes. Think of it as a verb, okay? It's used for the length of treatment of the patient. Now, do you see that second bullet? There are certain things that someday I think you're going to go back, you're going to look at external cause codes and kind of like, these are the Mario tips, if you will, okay? And so when it comes to this here, it's carrier specific, it always goes last, and the key is the external cause code, and that is a different type of code, is used for the duration of the treatment. And so that one, the second bullet there, definitely highlight that. It usually will utilize the seventh character extender, so it's the ADNS, and you have the full complement of codes that you're going to be using it. So the main thing is external cause codes compared to other codes will be used for the length of the treatment. Now, somebody asked me during break, why are there 12 lines? Are we ever going to really use the 12 lines? And my answer to them was that probably in a PI work comp case where you're using external cause codes, and I said you'll know when I'm talking about it, you will probably use many of those 12 lines that are present there. All right? Okay, so you also now, you have external cause codes, then you have place of occurrence. I'll give you examples for all this. Place of occurrence codes, these are used only once at the initial encounter, all right? So here's the rules of the game. External cause codes used throughout the whole care of that patient for that injury, whereas place of occurrence, where did it actually happen, is only used once at the initial encounter. After that, it's shut off. Okay? All right. So where was the location of an injury? Why? Well, I don't know. What do you have? Think of it as a grocery store, whatever grocery stores are in this area. Okay? So if it happened at Walmart, there, a public, place versus a place of recreation, it may make a difference for liability. Okay? So and you might want to put that note there, makes a difference for liability. Activity codes use only once at the initial encounter. So far, which one are you going to use throughout all of the encounters? The cause, the external cause, versus place of codes, the place of occurrence and activity codes only use once at the initial encounter. Okay, so here, and never use as an unspecified code here, because the only time it's unspecified code is if they don't want to tell you what they're really doing. Okay, so it'd be 50 Shades of Chiropractic. Okay, all right. External cause, I just made that up, sorry. Okay, all right, couldn't help it. Okay, my wrist hurts. Okay, all right, use only once at the initial encounter. Was the patient working at the time of the injury? External cause status, okay, a cause code versus status is what were they doing at the time? Were they military? And again, it all comes down to liability, okay? All right. So regardless of the number of external cause codes assigned, there should only be one place of occurrence code and one activity code assigned to the encounter, okay? All right. So let's give you some examples. There are many, many examples, and you might see some of those here. Now, I'm going to give you examples, and are these in your book, Mario? No. There are not hundreds of external cause codes. There literally are thousands of external cause codes, okay? Now, I will tell you what some of them are, and then I'll tell you how you can, hopefully talk to your vendor, okay? You ready? Okay, so look up here, please. And number one, they might be struck by a turtle. Okay? This is an actual code by the turtle. Now, how often do you use E-codes now? Not too often. You're not going to use these that often. So a W59.22XA. So now, looking at this here, what family of codes is this? Okay, what is the family name? W59, okay? Now, is this initial encounter, subsequent encounter, or sequela? Okay, it's an A, it's sequela, struck by a turtle. Otherwise, A, initial encounter. If it was an S, it would be probably after diving. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, all right. Okay, now, do you have horse farms around here? Yes or no? Yeah? Okay, well, you might see this, struck by a horse. Okay, a W55.12XXA. Okay, all right. Now, again, a little practice management here. You ready? Okay. Do you ever have patients that say, Dr. Mario? Yeah, I mean, if they call you Dr. Mario, they got a problem. They go, Doctor, I know I owe you money. Is there any way I can work off my bill? And you go, we already have cleaners. I don't want to do that. I found something for them to do. Okay, and it works really cool. It says, you know what? I want to use you as a model. Do you mind being a model? The guy goes, well, I have been working out. I go, good. Okay, I want you to be a model, and this is a burn due to water skis on fire. Okay, all right? So you too can be a model, okay? And that's a V91.07XA. All right, now, I don't know if this is a work injury or a hobby. Maybe you can help me decide. Okay, a W61.43. It's 5 after 4, ICD 10 class, and you're laughing. There's something not right about this scenario, okay? All right. Okay, so let me, first of all, any questions so far over any of the stuff we've gone over? Yes or no? Okay, any questions? Yes, go ahead. Okay, the A, this is how, looking through, but it's not really clarified yet. This is how you look at A. A is active care, initial phase of care, okay? Now, that is up for interpretation, but that's how it is, okay? The D will probably be used more for recovery phase / rehab, okay? All right. I saw other hands here. Any other questions? I don't want you going away thinking, we're almost done here, but you know what? The thing is, when you leave, you're not going to get a chance to ask questions. So any other questions? Yes, sir. It depends on what the carrier. Yeah. Yeah. Now, AD&S, if Medicare will probably have a lot of A's and a lot of S's, okay? And not many D's. That's just what I see so far. Now, the other carriers may follow suit, but we'll see. Okay? Out of everything I have taught you since 9 o'clock this morning here, AD&S are the only things that are going to be clarified. The rest of the stuff is there, like the activity codes. This is how it's going to be. We don't know how the carriers are going to use these, okay? All right. But you have the basics. Okay, questions? For Medicare or somebody else? Okay. Well, number one, she asked, how would they know how many codes you'll need for the claim? Okay, in Medicare, it's going to be a minimum of 2 codes per region. Okay? For regular insurance, a minimum of 1 code per region. For a work comp or PI, then the initial, it'll probably be a minimum of 5 codes for work comp and PI, because you'll have the medical, and if you don't realize this or think about it here, you're welcome to write this down. For a PI or work comp, you would have the medical diagnosis. Then after that, you would have the external cause. Okay, and I just gave you examples, pecked by a turkey. Okay, all right. Then you would have the place of occurrence, the activity code, and so forth, those 4 codes. So the four codes for the E or external cause codes will go along with the medical diagnosis. In pregnancy as a sequela of pregnancy or a result of their pregnancy, you're going to have a minimum of 2 codes. You see? And you already know what those are. All right? Yes, ma'am. No, excellent question. So if you have a patient who is injured in a fall, and in the injury, that patient, are you still going to use the Z code? The Z code, Z3A code, is only used when it is a complication of pregnancy. So since this really has nothing to do with the pregnancy, so here's and that's a really good question, it really is. So if the patient falls and has an SI sprain, then is that a complication of the pregnancy? No, okay? And so therefore, she gets 1 diagnosis, okay, which is the fall. A sprain of the SI joint, whatever. If she falls, has a sprained pelvis, but now she starts to bleed, okay? The bleed, whatever cause it is that going to need a Z code or not? Yeah, because now the bleed is due to the pregnancy and the fall is there as well. So the way to look at it is the Z3A code is only when you're telling me their condition is due to their pregnancy. Okay? Very, very good question. Excellent. Okay? Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Well, okay, 98941 means that there's 3 to 4 regions, right? So you're going to have a diagnosis for 3 to 4 regions. So if it's an SI joint, M99.05. Then you're going to have a medical diagnosis, whatever it might be. 3 to 4 regions, so let's say it's lumbar, M99.03 with a medical diagnosis. And then if they have a cervical complaint, it's M99.01 along with the medical diagnosis. So that is the minimum for a 4-1. Okay, 98941, minimum. Okay, yeah. Anything else? Okay, all right. Now let's go through here, and I want you to look. Okay, I'm sorry. Raise your hand real high. I can't see. Okay, yes, sir. Okay. Give me an example of what you're asking here.
Well, I'm just reading here off the list here. I noticed that sometimes that when you're talking about the code, whether the codes are, sometimes you're going to have 2 X's, sometimes you're going to have 1.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And so in trying to be able to figure out, sometimes you use 2, you use 1. That's simply determined by the number of characters that specific code is going to require.
Yes. That specific code is going to have so many placeholders. Most of the time it'll be 2. Okay, and especially from the S chapter, okay, which is chapter 19. Okay, all right, and that's why going back to what I taught, when you make the conversions, write down the current codes you use, and then make the conversions. Okay. Now I don't know how the dynamics here of how things work, but like as an example, Gateway. Okay, we use Gateway in our office as a clearinghouse. Is that what H&S does too, is the clearinghouse or not? Okay, because does anybody here have Gateway? Okay, Gateway already publishes for you specifically, each doctor, it gives you the top diagnosis codes that you use per month. It's already there, I don't know how to do it. They're called gateway, okay? So if you take those top codes, it's already done for you. Otherwise, and so you just convert over, make your playlist, okay?
I can't remember if you were in here at lunch, but I was sharing with everyone that you had already done the, it was not a crosswalk, but you had taken the top 100 codes built by these physicians and given us possible conversion codes for those.
Right.
In that spreadsheet, Dr. Davis, if it's a 7-digit, if one of the new ICD codes is a 7-digit, it's going to show you 2 X's. If it's if it's only 1 X, you'll be able to see it, whether it's 1 or 2. So that may be helpful. I think taking a look at that conversion table that Dr. Mario did will make things make a whole lot more sense to you.
Because what I did in that conversion table, I actually said, some of them will say requires 7th character. And you know that if there's only 4 there, you got to add in the other X's, okay? All right. Now, there are many things that we taught you today, and hopefully it's going to get started, but the first thing you got to do is talk to your vendors, okay? And make sure your vendors are coming along. Let me give you an example of how your vendor can help you so much, okay? And I'm not here from the podium to push a certain software. In my opinion, any software for your EHR that you use, it should be able to help you out. And so, talk to the vendors and explain, let them explain to you what they have plans for. And I've done that with my vendor too. I said, what do you plan to do for ICD-10? And to be honest with you, the vendor, I said, I would like you to do this, and I'll show you in a second. And they said, can you teach our programmers? And we want you to come to Tampa and teach our programmers. So I go, well, if I have to, So, no, I'm just kidding. So I did. So let me, and you know what? It doesn't matter what program I use. I don't care. Okay, what was that word, that language that one doctor speaks that you said? Mufasa or something. No, I don't know. I know, I made it up too. So just whatever program, that's what it is something like this. Now, let's just look at this. I know it's small, but it doesn't matter. I want to show you how your software will make life easy. Number 1, you're going to convert for your codes, okay? But here, okay, and just whatever screen you're on, read along with me. The patient presents today after having a new cabinet fall on her last week, suffering a concussion as well as neck pain. She was cooking dinner at her home, which she shares with her husband. The patient did not seek treatment prior to our office. She stated that the cabinets were installed incorrectly in her kitchen, probably by her husband. Her husband, who was at home with her at the time of the injury, told her she was out cold for about 2 minutes, and finally he got to watch whatever TV he wanted. Okay? The patient continues to have headaches, primarily in the back of the head, extending up in the head in the occipital and parietal regions bilaterally. Headaches come on suddenly, last for long periods of time, and occur every day. They are not relieved by Advil. Now, let's just listen to me for a second. In certain software, and I've seen it on various softwares, including my vendor too, but EHR, when we go in there and you say what kind of a case it is, they then will have different questions. You answer these questions, and this is what I told my vendor, you answer the questions and it will type it up afterward. Since I am answering certain questions and it's typing it up afterward, wouldn't it be nice if we could take those questions that it's already asking and assign codes to it? And here's the example, okay? She had a new cabinet fall on her last week, okay? That is a W20.8XXA struck by falling object accidentally initial encounter, okay? So that's an activity code, okay? Or the external cause code, rather, okay? She was cooking dinner at her home, which she shares with her husband. That's the activity code, a Y93.G3. It's actually a code, okay? The patient did not seek treatment prior to our office, which makes her, as far as we know, an initial encounter, an A. She stated that the cabinets were installed in her kitchen incorrectly, and so the place of occurrence then is a Y92.010. Her husband, who was at home with her at the time of the injury, think about concussions. They are graded. Did the patient have a concussion? Did they lose consciousness? And how long was the consciousness? So here, this would be concussion with loss of consciousness, 30 minutes or less, initial encounter, and S06.0X1A. See, now this, look at that code, X06.0X1A. And you can see it's not the 2 X's you're used to, okay? All right. So the headaches come on suddenly, last for long periods of time, occur every day. They're not relieved by Advil, which makes them intractable. So now, just taking that, if I answered all those questions and I told my vendor, it would be nice if now we have all the codes that just come up and now it's auto-posted like so. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, exactly. So that's why you gotta, I don't know, and this is just, it's like as ICD-10 is enacted in our office, do I see many upgrades coming from all vendors? The answer is yes, okay? Now, if they nickel and dime you, you got to pay for every single upgrade, then, as a practitioner, I'm going to complain too, but it's kind of like, isn't there a way that I can pay you and just get upgrades for the first, the whole year? I don't know. And you know what? How many people are in this room? If all of us ask our vendors, 300 people, they're going to listen to you. So you got to talk to your vendors and don't just complain about everything there, okay? All right. Okay, so again, here is the example I gave you earlier. And so now you can see using those external cause codes, what's going to happen is they have a fractured wrist at the hotel in the parking lot. They were walking at the time. They slipped and fell on the ice, and they were working. Now, no questionnaire. It's done. Taken care of for you. All right? Okay. Any questions? All right. So, okay, hey, Mario, you made it really easy. You just gave us the answers. Okay, good. Those are the answers. All right, have fun. Okay. All right, so now, okay, last thing, just hang with me here. We'll be done in a few minutes here. Number one, okay, let me give you some resources here, and they're not all here. Okay, number one, cms.gov/ICD-10 is an excellent resource, no space between ICD and 10. So cms.gov/ICD-10, okay? You can go to my website, askmario.com, okay, and you're welcome to look there. The facebook.com/askmario is a good way that I will update you here. As members of my class, and since I work for H&S as far as teaching for them, obviously I will update them and they'll put it on their website, so go to their website as well, okay? Chiro Code, and again, I don't have any affiliation with these, but Chiro Code, CHIROCODE.com. Get on their listserv. They have webinars every Tuesday, every Thursday on many different subjects that's totally free, okay? So you can get on that as well. There are many different webinars out there. Just stay on top of it, but start to change now, okay? All right. So get on facebook.com/askmario. We have a limited few books. I see Jenny's got just a few there. If you wanted to talk to her about books, do it now because we have webinar special prices for you on these here. But do you have anything to talk about? Okay. So I'm going to exit out of here. But again, if you have any further questions, doc@askmario is in your notes there. And that should be it. Thank you.